Hey, welcome back to Mom Life at its Finest. If you are new, big welcome. I'm Amber, and this entire channel is about giving you the inside glimpse into my crazy life so that you can feel better about yours. I am a busy working mom of 3 kids ages 6 and under, and so as you can imagine, my life is just all over the place. Everything is just always kind of crazy, and I want to answer today a question that I get asked all the time, a question you might already be thinking, and a question that I've honestly asked myself all the time. That is why I don't quit my job. Why do I keep working when being a working mom is so hard? Seriously, I mean, motherhood in general is so hard, but trying to juggle and balance mom life with the demands of my career it's just so hard. If you are a working mom, please let me know in the comments if you can relate. But before we get to the answers, I obviously have started folding some laundry, and I thought, hey, this would be a great time to just sit down and have a heart-to-heart chat. So don't mind me, but I'm gonna keep folding while we talk here. And that reminds me, if you are new, please make sure and subscribe down below. I make new videos 2 times a week, and I would love to have you follow along on my journey. So, long story about how I ended up where I am. For those who don't know, I am a tenured professor. I just got tenure a couple of months ago, but I earned my PhD in 2013 and then was incredibly blessed to be offered a tenure track position as a professor at a very prestigious, well-known university. And at that time, when I got the job, my husband and I didn't think that we could have kids. One of the great heartbreaks of my life was wanting kids for years and always dreaming of being a mother, and then thinking that we weren't going to be able to have kids. So I previously talked about this in a different video, but I mentioned that at that time, in those years where we were unable to have kids and struggling so hard, my husband and I had to really have a heart-to-heart chat. And at that moment, we decided to, okay, pursue Plan B. And that's when my job opportunities opened up. That's when my career started taking off. And so, it was just surreal the way that it all worked out. But I kid you not, 1 week to the day after I accepted my job, I found out I was pregnant. And it was a complete dream come true. I mean, I never in a million years could have imagined the joy that I would feel at that time and still feel to this day, because motherhood is the biggest blessing we will ever experience. But because of the order in which things happened, my husband and I were convinced and led to believe that that was the way God intended it, that I was supposed to take this job, and we also just didn't know what we didn't know. We had no clue how hard it would be to be parents. We also had no idea how challenging it would be to move completely away from all of our family and friends. We moved across the country, and we had no idea how hard it would be to balance the demands of being parents with both of us working full time. So it is a wild ride, and it's definitely caused a lot of tension in my marriage. It so often makes me feel that horrible mom guilt, like I'm completely failing at motherhood. And then I also, in many ways, have felt like a failure in my job, even though things are going fine and going well, and I did get tenure. It just always feels like there's never enough of me to go around. If you are a working mom, I know you can relate, and I will be so curious to hear your experiences and what you ultimately think in terms of whether being a working mom is good or bad. And many of us don't have a choice. So ultimately, there are 3 reasons why I don't quit my job. 3 reasons why I stay a working mom. The first one is the most obvious, and that is that my family is financially dependent on my income. And, again, it's an incredible blessing to have this position, but I think think if our financial situation was a little bit different, I would honestly be open to quitting my job, because the vocation of motherhood, the calling that I feel to be with my children, is so much stronger than I ever knew or could have imagined. But when my husband and I were a little bit younger, we made the very conscious choice to take on a certain financial path that we knew would be challenging in the short to medium term, but that would set us up for longer term financial freedom. And so it's sometimes hard for other people to understand, but short of making very drastic changes to our situation, we are in a financial position where we do require both of our incomes. And so, we were constantly going over the numbers, constantly going over our finances, and we just can't find a way to make it work. We can't find a way to afford everything that we need to spend money on. And we don't live an extravagant, crazy life by any means, but for a variety of reasons, we aren't in a position where either one of us could quit our job. The second reason that I don't quit my job is something that I realize could come across as somewhat selfish, and I don't know if you would agree or not, but I've done a lot of soul searching and a lot of thinking about this, and I worked so hard to earn my PhD and to get into this position and to get tenure now after these last 7 years it's been, and it's really hard to walk away from that, because the profession that I'm in, the field that I work in, is not one that is easy to step away and come back in. Yes, there are always teaching positions that I could get, but the actual position of being a professor is pretty unique, and it's not something that you can take a break from and expect to return in the same capacity. So that makes the choice to leave a little bit harder, because I know I would potentially miss it, that I would maybe regret someday that I left, because if I left, that would be permanent. I couldn't get it back. And that's not to say that I don't still wonder if I will later in my life regret being a working mom or having worked and not been home with my kids full time. But again, there are other considerations too. The third reason why I don't quit my job is because along with all the soul searching I've done, I just more and more am convinced that this is where God wants me to be. The way that everything lined up in my life, the order in which everything happened, the signs that I still continue to get regarding my career, and the feedback that I get for the job that I do, just really makes me feel like this is an area where I am called to be, where I'm called to serve, and I never want that to interfere with my primary responsibility and my primary vocation of motherhood. But it is something that I just really put a lot of weight on. I've really tried to discern where God wants me to be in my life, and for all kinds of reasons, I feel like I am doing what I am supposed to be doing, and that there is a bigger reason why that is the case. Now, the fourth and final reason for why I don't quit my job is probably the most contentious, but I think that if you're a mom, you will get it. This is my identity. I have done this for so long now, and it's what I do for me. It's something that is all my own, some aspect where I am fulfilling my passions and using my gifts and doing something that I am good at. And as moms, we don't often get those opportunities. So much of our time is about helping others, serving our families, doing the very day after day mundane tedious tasks that feel so thankless, and they are hugely important and they are all necessary. But after 7 years of my job of working in this position and another 6 years prior to that doing everything that I had to do, jumping through all the hoops I had to jump through to earn my PhD, it's who I am. I am a professor, and that makes it really hard to leave, really hard to walk away from, because it feels like I wouldn't be being true to myself if I abandoned that part of who I am. So again, I don't know if you feel that attachment to your job if you work, or if you're a stay-at-home mom. Is there something that is on your heart that you dream of doing but you feel doesn't comport with where you are at in your life and all of the duties that you have in your family? I get it. I know that we as moms just naturally, innately want to take care of our families first. And the guilt of doing anything for ourselves is just so heart-wrenching. If you didn't know, I have a whole separate YouTube channel called Solutions for Simplicity that I'll link for you down below as well as up in the cards. But that is a channel that I started to share all of the sort of tips and tricks and tools that I have found to juggle working mom life and to do what I need to do faster in order to keep up with the very high pressure demands that I'm constantly facing, because I do want as much time as possible for my kids and for my husband and for myself. But again, you know, just finding something that we do for us is not easy. We might dream of it, but then when we go to actually do that thing, I at least often feel an overwhelming sense of guilt. And so I brought up my other channel because there's a specific video I made there that I will link for you where I talk about wrestling with mom guilt and some very important things that I have learned to do to try and combat it, because it's not fun and it honestly doesn't help, especially if you're in a situation like I am where quitting your job isn't a real viable option. Then beating yourself up for being a working mom is definitely doing more harm than good. So I hope you check out that video. Overall, I hope you enjoyed this video, even if it's very rambly. I just love the time to connect with you, and I really value openness and honesty and just sharing the many things that I struggle with, the many things I've learned the hard way, in hopes that it helps other moms as well. So please let me know in the comments what you think, if you can relate, if you have any other ideas or tips for juggling working mom life. And if you haven't, please again, make sure and subscribe. I can't wait to see you in my next video. And until then, have such a good day.